Hello friends, welcome back to Liz's Reading Corner, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Liz and I like books, and in this video we are going to go through the book series that I am currently either reading or I intend to start. There will probably be a lot more added as I go through the year, and I'll probably do like a wrap up at the end of the year or something like that, just to sort of like assess what ones I finished and what ones I've added and where I'm at with these series. It is really windy here today. There's a cyclone up north. We're not going to get it, but we might get some rain, and we definitely get the wind from it. So I apologize if there's just like a lot of sounds. I don't really have a choice. They're not going away anytime soon. I was not actually meant to be filming this video today. I have so much that I'm meant to be doing right now, and I'd even intended on surprising my husband with some scones that I was going to make. And my body decided that wasn't happening because I'm having a flare-up. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and my hand right now feels like it is simultaneously being squeezed in a vice and torn apart. So that's cool. I'm in so much pain and nothing is helping. So to distract myself, we're doing this. So there is 40 series that I'm currently either reading or wanting to read, and some of them are very big series. There is a total of 220 books, and I have read 30 of them, but I'll probably have to reread some of them because it has been a while and it's probably good to have a refresher. So yeah, without further ado, these are the series that I am either reading or would like to read. Not specifically all of them this year, but they're just ones that I am interested in reading at this point in time. The first is The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. There is 4 books, I think it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 books in this series. They are Eragon, Elder, Brissinger, and Inheritance. Got it. This series is set in a fictional world called Allegasia. I think it's like a YA series, or I could be wrong. It could just be like an adult fantasy. It reads like YA. Anyway, it's set in Allegasia. We follow Eragon, who is raised by his uncle. I can't remember why. He finds in like a remote village up near a set of mountains that no one goes near because there's like some superstition around the mountains, and people who go into the mountains or into the forest or something like that. And he finds a dragon egg. The dragon hatches. It's a female dragon. Her name is Saphira, and Eragon and Saphira have to travel with, don't remember his name. Oh, what's his name? No, I've lost it. And they have to defeat the evil wizard, I think he is, Galbatorix. Seems really interesting. I've read Eragon, so I've read the first one late last year, and so I will be trying to read the second one this year. This was recommended by one of our friends, and because we were talking about different dragon series that we absolutely adore, and he highly recommended it, and I see why. The book is far better than the movies. Speaking of dragon series that I love, the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. I am absolutely in love with Temeraire. Temeraire is a dragon. So the series follows Captain Lawrence, who was initially a ship's captain, also was like a captain in the Navy, and his ship intercepts some enemy ships, and on one of those ships is a dragon's egg. And in this series, the dragons imprint on whoever it is that they choose that is closest to them or from those people around them when they hatch. And so Temeraire imprints on Captain Lawrence. I can't even remember his first name because he's never referred to like by his first name. But anyway, so Lawrence gives Temeraire his name, and they have to go and join the Air Corps because once the dragon imprints on you, they basically refuse to go with anybody else. And so this series basically just follows them as they go through. So the first book, they defeat Napoleon. The second book, they have to go to China and do like public relations there. The third book is them on their way home from China, and I'm up to the 4th book, so I haven't read the 4th book. But the books in this series, and I'm not going to be able to remember them all, so I'm going to read them. His Majesty's Dragon, Throne of Jade, Black Powder War, Empire of Ivory, Victory of Eagles, Tongues of Serpents, I should just have had them here, Crucible of Gold, Blood of Tyrants, and League of Dragons. So those are the 9 books in the Temerarious series. I've read the first 3 and I have 6 left to go, and I probably will actually end up, as much as I don't want to finish the series at all and I really just want to drag it out, I at the same time really want to finish reading this, so that'll probably actually get finished this year, and I'm probably going to end up reading everything that Naomi Novik has written because I love her writing. Next is Drowned World by Eliza Chan. The first book is Fathom Folk and the second book is Tideborn. Tideborn's coming out this year. I think this is only meant to be a duology. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's only slated to be a duology. This follows the fictional town of Tiankawi. It is like one of the only places in the world that is like above water because there was like a flood. That doesn't really go into why, but it is a sanctuary city. It's meant to be like a sanctuary city, and the people who live there are not very nice to Fathom Folk or the people who live in the sea. And Mira is the captain of the guard, I believe it is, and Nami is like the spoiled princess. She's a dragon princess? Sea dragon. She's a sea dragon princess. Basically, Nami and Mira are fighting for the same thing, but they don't realize it, so they're both trying to gain recognition for the Fathom Folk and have them be treated equal to humans. And there's this faction of rebels who are trying to overthrow humans completely. The book itself, or Fathom Folk, was really quite forgettable. It was just meh. I was really, really excited for it, and it kind of fell short, but we'll see how Tideborn goes. I probably won't be buying it though, I'll probably just borrow it from the library. So next we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu, I absolutely stuffed that up, I'm sorry. Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is a series of 6 books. They are Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe, Before Your Memory Fades, Before We Say Goodbye, and Before We Forget Kindness, and there is a 6th book, but it's not translated yet. These basically are set in this cafe where you can sit down. I don't know if they're all set in the same cafe, but there is this cafe where you can sit down in a certain spot and you can speak to someone from your past, or you can go into the future, depending on. Very rarely do people go into the future, they usually go into the past. They're usually people who have lost a loved one very suddenly and they have like more things that they needed to say, or they just want to make sure that they're doing the right thing by their loved one or according to their loved one, and they only have the time that the coffee is warm to speak to them. So once the coffee gets cold, they come back to their present time. They are part of a genre called healing fiction, and I am loving healing fiction right now, so there's probably going to be a few series from that genre in this list. So next is the Delegate Dream Department Store series by Mi Lee. I think it's only 2 books. The first one is obviously the Delegate Dream Department Store, and then the second book is Return to the Delegate Dream Department Store. These are basically kind of what they say on the title. There is this department store called the Delegate Dream Department Store, and they sell dreams to people. So basically you go in, so humans fall asleep and you go in and you get dreams from them, and this just follows like the works of the department store, and there's like different levels that have like different types of dreams and very different people running those levels. This is again another healing fiction series. Next is the Chronicles of the Black Company series by Glenn Cook. I have the book just here. I'm gonna have to, that's the first 3 books in one, so it's an omnibus. I'm going to probably have to reread them. That was a suggested read by Bunstonius, and I've been meaning to do a review of at the very least those 3 books for a very long time, and I still haven't got around to it. I apologize. I will be doing a review of them this year, and I'll have to reread them as well this year before I get to the rest of the series. I really, really enjoyed this series. It's kind of I want to say high fantasy, but the books are not massively long, so they're not like Brandon Sanderson or what's the other one that does massive books? Raymond Feist. Like, they're not really massive books. They're usually about 300-ish pages, so they're manageable. It's just that feels like a huge book because it's 3 books in one, and the writing is tiny. And so anyway, so this follows a company of mercenaries called the Black Company. They basically are mercenaries for hire. They'll go to the highest bidder. They have a very long legacy, so they've been around for like, I think 1,000 years or something, and they actually have each set of mercenaries, or each, I don't know, generation of mercenaries has a chronicler, so there always has to be someone who is chronicling the journey of the Black Company. The books in this series are The Black Company, The Shadows Linger, The White Rose, Shadow Games, Dreams of Steel, Black Seasons, She is Darkness, Water Sleeps, and Soldiers Live. Oh, and Lies Weeping. My computer is over there, and I'm reading the list off of that because this is the only good angle I can get with this light. And I'm not going to remember all of those books. That's way too many. So I've read the first 3. So The Black Company, Shadows Linger, and The White Rose. I'm actually really looking forward to reading them because they were actually a really good series. So I'll be doing videos specifically on the Black Company Chronicles. Next is Will Prescribe You a Cat by Suyo Ishida. This is another healing fiction series. So right now only Will Prescribe You a Cat is translated into English. There's apparently a second book that's not translated into English yet. This is basically about a doctor's surgery where you go and they'll prescribe you a cat to fix whatever issue it is that you have. Basically what it says in the title. I loved this. I love cats. I'd be a crazy cat lady. If we owned our own home, we would have so many cats. And yeah, like I said, this is another healing fiction series. Next is the Iron Widow series by Shiran J. Zhao. This follows like a world where it's like a science fiction series or duology. Basically in this world, there is things called chrysalises, and they are powered by usually men, and these men have what they call concubines, and those concubines are women. They are used how a traditional concubine is used, but they are also used for their power that they display. So usually men are more powerful than the women, and so that's why the women are just concubines. Like, they will have all of their power sucked out of them in order to fight like these monsters that they're fighting. And we follow Zetian. Zetian offers herself up as a concubine, and she goes through this fight, and instead of her dying, her partner dies, and so she becomes what is known as an Iron Widow, and which means that she is actually more powerful than most of the men in the army. And yeah, so I don't want to give too much away because really a lot of it after that is spoilers, but it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I've read Iron Widow, and the second book is Heavenly Tyrant. The next series is another healing fiction series. It's the Kamigawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. There is 11 books in this series. So far, only 2 of them are translated. So there is Kamigawa Food Detectives and the Restaurant of Lost Recipes. Basically, you go to this restaurant and they will try to recreate whatever recipe it is that you're trying to recreate from the past. So you'll have like this special recipe that means a lot to you. So like something that your grandmother used to make, or that your wife used to make if you lost your wife, or something from like your childhood or your childhood hometown, and they will basically recreate it for you, usually perfectly. And so yeah, healing fiction, it is beautiful. Hopefully more of these will get translated as well, because I would love to read the entire series. Next is the Hannibal Lecter series by Thomas Harris. That is, let's see if I can get it right without looking. Hannibal, The Silence of the Lambs, Red Rising, and no, wrong. Red Dragon, Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal, Red Rising. And this is just the Hannibal Lecter series. Most people know who Dr. Hannibal Lecter is. Absolutely adore it. Love the movies. And I love that the books so far have been basically like almost to the letter the same as the books. The movies have been the same as the books. Anyway, so I've read Red Dragon and The Silence of the Lambs, and I would like to get to the last two, so Hannibal and Red Rising this year. Next is the Sunken Archives series. I think it's only a duology by Sylvie Catherall. They are The Letter to the Luminous Deep and God, what's the other one? A Letter from the Lonesome Shore. This is a story that is told basically through a back and forth between two people. Their siblings met and disappeared, basically, and so they're trying to figure out what happened to their siblings and where they went. I'm trying to be quick because I feel like I've taken already too long. I've been recording for half an hour and I'm like not even halfway through the series that I like to read, so I'm gonna try and maybe just do a quicker synopsis. Next is the Fallen God series by Hannah Kana. So this is Godkiller, Sunbringer, and Faithbreaker. Faithbreaker I think is coming out this year. I read Godkiller and I will be reading, I've tried to read Sunbringer twice, but I've just not been in the mood for it yet. This is about this series is about a god who is trying to bring back people's faith in the gods. So people have lost faith in the gods, they don't believe that they exist. There is this one, I think it's a king, who has sworn to absolutely stamp out all mention of gods. There is no such thing as gods, and this one god is trying to bring back the gods, or belief in the gods, I should say. Next is the Slayton thriller series by Carolyn Mitchell. These are The Midnight Man, which was very different to what I expected, the Night Whispers, and The Brain House. This follows a detective who is investigating weird happenings in the town of Slayton. They're usually supernatural, or at least the Midnight Man was supernatural, so I imagine that they're all going to be supernatural as well. Next is the Old Kingdom series, or the Aporson series, depending on where you are. I believe it's Aporson series for like the rest of the world, and it's the Old Kingdom series in North America by Garth Nix. So these are Sabriel, Lyriel, Aporson, Clariel, Golden Hand, and Terciel and Eleanor. So this follows Sabriel, who is I can't remember what she is, but her and her father can communicate with the dead, basically, and Sabriel's father goes missing, so she has to take up his mantle and try and figure out what happens to him, and also keep the Legion of Darkness at bay, basically. I absolutely adored it. The entire reason that I picked this up, even like I've said many times, was because one of my friends, his cat is named Sabriel, and I absolutely adore her, and she is quite aptly named based on the descriptions of Sabriel in this book. So yeah, absolutely love the first book. I really want to get back into the series. This is a middle grade, I think it is, or like tween-ish sort of series, so it's slated for like 12 to 14 year olds or something like that, so maybe just a bit older than middle grade fiction. But yeah, it is really good. It is amazing. It's basically like high fantasy but for younger readers. So next is the Levanthria series by A.P. Beswick. He is an indie author that I actually found on Instagram. He has quite a few books, so again, I'm going to be reading them. They are A Forest of Vanity and Valor, A Sea of Sorrow and Scorn, A Frost of Fear and Fortitude, A Kingdom of Courage and Cruelty, A Stone of Destiny and Despair, A House of Powder and Plot, A Frost of Death and Deceit, A War of Chaos and Fury Part 1, and A War of Chaos and Fury Part 2. So each of these is actually a retelling of some kind of like fairy tale persona. So Forest of Vanity and Valor is a Robin Hood retelling. There's like a Santa Claus retelling, a Red Riding Hood retelling, and I can't remember what all of the others are. There's like a whole bunch. They're all retellings basically, and I absolutely adored A Forest of Vanity and Valor. I always think that I'm gonna say it wrong, but it was phenomenal, and I highly recommend, if you enjoy retellings, reading these. They're all, if you have Kindle Unlimited, they're actually all available on Kindle Unlimited, so I'm going to be doing a reading vlog very soon of reading through the rest of the series, because they actually don't take very long to read either. Plus you are supporting, if you buy them, an indie author. I would love to actually buy the physical copies, because the covers are just amazing. Next is the Dawning of Muirwood series by Jeff Wheeler. That is The Druid, The Hunted, and The Betrayed. This I will have to reread, because it's been quite a few years since I've read The Druid, which is the only book in the series that I've read. It's about a girl named Eileen. I'm assuming that's how to pronounce her name. She's raised in an abbey. She's like basically a no one, so she's what they call a foundling. She was just left there for them to either raise or let die. She's chosen to assist in building a new abbey in a place called Muirwood, I'm assuming that's how it's pronounced. I don't know if that's quite correct. And where they've decided to build this new abbey happens to be the site of like some ancient magic, and not necessarily good magic. So yeah, like I said, I'll have to reread it. I haven't read it in a long time, and I barely remember the story. I just remember enjoying it a lot, so that'll be a reread. Next is the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabata Hiya. This is 4 books. So in Ember in the Ashes, A Torch Against the Night, A Reaper at the Gate, and A Sky Beyond the Storm. I've only read the first one, so I've only read Ember in the Ashes. So this one follows, I've pronounced her name in my head as Leia, but I don't know if that's correct. She was born a slave, and her brother is taken prisoner, and she basically, I think, wants to overthrow the people in charge. She agrees to spy at this academy that she's at, or that she's working at, for the rebels, and from what I understand, this is like a ancient Rome either retelling, or it's based off of like ancient Roman society. Next is the Witch's Daughter series by Paula Braxton. That is, so it's a duology, actually. It's not even a series, it's a duology. So that's The Witch's Daughter and The Return of the Witch. I can't remember her name, but the main character, I think her mother was accused of being a witch, and so she seeks out a wizard or someone who has power, and he actually turns her into a witch, but it also makes her immortal. And so it's just basically like telling her life and how she's sort of come to like current times, and she's just like telling her story to this girl who has kind of realized who she is. Next is the Rotstorm series by Ian Green. This is The Gauntlet and the Fist Beneath, The Gauntlet and the Burning Blade, and The Gauntlet and the Broken Chain. I've only read the first one. So this is about Flora, who used to work for the Empire in fighting against the creatures that come from this thing called the Rotstorm. So I think if you're caught in the Rotstorm, you get turned into a creature or something like that. She has left the service of the crown, and she had actually settled down, and she had a child, and then her child was stolen. And so this is basically her trying to get her child back, and also fighting against like becoming who she was in the past, because she's left that behind. She's left that person behind, and also fighting to save like her future and everyone else's future. Next is the Indian Lake series by Stephen Graham Jones. So there's 3 books in this trilogy: My Heart is a Chainsaw, Don't Fear the Reaper, and The Angel of Indian Lake. Yeah. This follows a child, again I've forgotten her name, I've only read the first one, but she's like obsessed with like slasher movies and horror movies, and she lives in like this real backwater town, and she thinks that nothing interesting is ever going to happen in her town, and then people start dying in like a slasher film sort of way. So she's very excited. People believe that the people around her believe that she's got something wrong with her, because she's like so excited about like slasher movies and that sort of thing. but I really quite enjoyed it. Jade, I think her name is. Most people didn't enjoy her as a character, but I didn't hate her. My phone died yesterday, and we're finishing this today. Thankfully, I kept track of where I was, but yeah, it just... yesterday was the day. Okay, so continuing where we left off, the next series is the Tide Child series by R.J. Barker. So this is, what are they? The Bone Ships, Call of the Bone Ships, and the Bone Ships Wake. This is a trilogy that is about a country that used to have dragons, and the dragons have all gone extinct, or they think they've gone extinct. And so they actually make their outside of their ships basically indestructible by using dragon bones. And so these warships are made from dragon bones, and I think a dragon is like spotted after like hundreds of years of not seeing any dragons. And so yeah, that's what that series is about. I've read the first 2 books in this series and absolutely loved them, so I've only got the Bone Ships Wake left to read on that one. Next is the First Law series by Joe Abercrombie. This is The Blade Itself, Before They Are Hanged, and Last Argument of Kings. I realized that this trilogy is like the start of like the rest of the series. Is like other book series that all are joined together to make one big long series, but I'm only going to start with this one first, or at least I believe that's how it works. I could be completely wrong, but yeah, I'm just going to start with these 3 first. I have apparently read the first book, but I don't remember reading it, and I don't remember what it's about. I believe it's like high fantasy, and I believe there is like a nobleman who is being sought after by like an inquisitor, and a wizard comes in to help, I think. But yeah, 100% not sure what that series is about, but it looks really interesting. Next is the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. I haven't actually started any of these books. I have tried a couple of times to read the first one, but it just hasn't been the right time. I tried in January and it really didn't happen because January was January. Anyway, so I'll read because there is quite a few books in this series, and the series is still being published, so I will read them out. So there's the Bone Season, the Mime Order, the Song Rising, the Mask Falling, the Dark Mirror is apparently coming out this year, and allegedly there's a book being published next year according to Goodreads. I don't know if that's true. From what I remember from reading I think I read like the first 2 chapters, or 3 chapters, there is a criminal, what's her name? Paige? She has these abilities that she doesn't want people to know about, because if you have these abilities then you are taken by the government, and basically I think like your life is forfeit, but like you're paid a lot of money, or like you live a really good life. And so she has this ability to break into people's minds, and she is caught and she gets taken to, what is it? I think it's like the Central Ring or something. She gets taken somewhere else, and she actually finds out the origin of her people. And yeah, so I'm really interested in reading this series, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I'll actually be able to make it further than a couple of chapters next time I try reading it. Next is the Jurassic Park I want to say series, but it's actually just a duology by Michael Crichton. So it is Jurassic Park and the Lost World. This is the books that the Jurassic Park movies were based off of, basically. So dinosaurs being brought back to life by scientists. Then we have, what is it? The 4MK thriller series by J.D. Barker. So this is The Fourth Monkey, The Fifth to Die, and The Sixth Wicked Child. I've seen a couple of YouTubers talk about these series, and it seems really, really interesting. From what I understand, it's about a serial killer who is killing in Chicago, but it's definitely something I'm interested in. Apologies if you can hear the dinging. There's a home ice cream man. I don't know if that's something anywhere else, but it's like a truck that drives around, and you can buy boxes of ice creams from them. And he's taking his time leaving this area. I tried to wait as long as I could, but it's just taking a really long time to leave. Next is the Last War series by Mike Shackle. This is a trilogy. So the books are We Are the Dead, A Fool's Hope, and Until the Last. This, from what I understand, because I haven't read any of these books either, is about a land where magic has disappeared. I assume magic used to be used for everything. It's typically how it goes. Magic has disappeared, and then all of a sudden the enemies manage to find magic again, and they invade and are immediately like victorious, I guess. It's an epic fantasy. I'm always looking for more epic fantasy to read. So, and again, this is another series that I've seen quite a few YouTubers talking about recently. So I thought I'd give it a try. Next is the Ties That Bind series by Rob J. Hayes. So this is The Heresy Within, The Color of Vengeance, and The Price of Faith. This, from what I understand, because I haven't, again, read any of these yet, this is a book it's like an epic fantasy that's based loosely, I guess, or based on the Inquisition, so the Holy Inquisition, and like witch hunters and that sort of thing. Again, something I'm very interested in and very interested in reading. Next is the Children of Time series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Again, this is a series that I've seen quite a few people talking about recently, and I sometimes find science fiction or sci-fi interesting, so I'm always willing to give it a go. The books in the series are Children of Time, Children of Ruin, and Children of Memory. It's, again, haven't read any of them yet, but it seems really interesting, so like I said, I'm willing to give it a try. From what I understand, it is set in like the far future, and they are the children of people who were sent on like a terraforming space mission or something like that. So they are the descendants of the original people who were sent on the mission. So the next one will come as no surprise at all, because I have already announced that I will be doing a Sanderson-a-thon. So I will be reading I'm trying to read the entire Cosmere series, and but I'm just going to be reading like one book a month, although like I said, February is going to be 2 books, assuming that the bookshop ever gets them in, because I've ordered it. I ordered it like 2 weeks ago and I'm still waiting. But anyway, so the series is the Cosmere series by Brandon Sanderson, and this order that I'm going to be listing them in is actually the order that Brandon Sanderson recommends that you read them in. So this will be the order that I'm reading them in. I'm going to read them off the screen because there is way too many books. So this is the order that I'm reading them in. The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, The Hero of Ages, Warbreaker, Tress of the Emerald Sea, The Way of the Kings, The Alloy of Law, Shadows of Self, Bands of Mourning, The Lost Metal, Words of Radiance, Edge Dancer, Oathbringer, Dawn Shard, Rhythm of War, The Sunlit Man, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, Elantris, Arcanum Unbound, Skyward, Starsight, Cytonic Defiant, Steel Heart, Firefight, Calamity, The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, and Legion. So I will find the video and actually link it in the description for the video that Brandon Sanderson did for his suggested reading order for all of his books. And yeah, so like I said, I'm reading the Cosmere series, and I am aware that some of those books are actually standalone books, but because he's just added them into that video, I've just had them in my list. Next is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I have the first 2 books. Yes. I think I've only got the first 2 books, but I've got the first 2 books just here. These are The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, The Shadow Rising, The Fires of Heaven, Lord of Chaos, A Crown of Swords, The Path of Daggers, Winter's Heart, Crossroads of Twilight, Knife of Dreams, The Gathering Storm, Towers of Midnight, and A Memory of Light. I have actually started this series before. Basically, the magic in this world, if you don't know anything about the Wheel of Time series, the magic in this world is controlled by women, because men can't handle dealing with magic or touching the source, I think it's called, without going mad and destroying the world. So there was this one wizard guy, this one magic wielder who went mad and absolutely destroyed the world. They call it, I want to say it's a rift, but that's not it. I can't remember what they call it. When I read through the books, I'll explain it better. But yeah, so we are following Rand, who, along with his friends, there's 2 friends going with him. There's Matt and there's someone else, and then anyway, so Rand and his friends, I can't remember their names. One's Matt and I can't remember the other kid's name. They find out that Rand has powers. He's taken by one of the, I can't remember what they're called, but I'm just going to call her a witch, to save the world, basically. Next is the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer. We actually just bought them. We just managed to get the entire set brand new for $20 because the sleeve that they were meant to come in was damaged and none of the books were damaged, so that's a win. This is a YA series following Artemis Fowl. It's like Artemis Fowl Jr. actually. He is the current child of a prominent crime family. They have a lot of money, and in the first, I don't know about any of the rest of the books. The first book I actually had to read when I was in high school for like a book reading competition. So yeah, he tries to, so his family has lost a small fortune in money because his father disappeared, and so Artemis learns that, so Artemis has always believed that fairies are still real, and he manages to find a book that has all of the rules that the fairy have to, and like the fairy or fae people have to follow. And so he manages to kidnap one of the fairies, but not just any fairy. She's actually a part of the fairy police department, and he holds her for ransom. It's a middle grade fiction series. I think I just said it was YA, but it's actually more middle grade fiction. And we got it, like I said, we got it really cheap, and my husband thought that it would be a great series that we could read with our son. The books in the series are Artemis Fowl, The Arctic Incident, The Eternity Code, The Opal Deception, The Lost Colony, The Time Paradox, The Atlantis Complex, and The Last Guardian. The next series is a Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. So these are, all the books that I will be reading are The Lies of Loch Lamora. That was so difficult to say, and I don't even know why. Red Seas Under Red Skies, The Republic of Thieves, and The Thorn of Emberlyn. This again is a series I haven't actually started reading, but again I've seen quite a few people talking about it on YouTube with regards to like fantasy stories. The description on Goodreads and online doesn't really tell me much, but it seems like it's about an orphan who has to like fight evil and comes up against an evil king. I don't know. Like I said, there's not very much in there, but I've seen enough people talk about it and it has piqued my interest. Next is the House Moving Castle series by Diane Wynne Jones. This is, I believe, what the movie House Moving Castle is based off of. So the books in the series are House Moving Castle, Castle in the Air, and the House of Many Ways. This is just basically about how Hal, who is a wizard, saves Sophie, or thinks he saves Sophie from the Witch of the Waste, but then Sophie has a curse placed on her by the Witch of the Waste, and she goes to try and find, at least in the movie, she goes to try and find someone to like help her remove the curse, but the problem with the curse is that she can't actually say anything, and so she ends up finding Hal, and she just invites herself into his house, and she lives a very interesting life after that. Same vein, but quick side note, Calcifer is amazing. I absolutely adore Calcifer so much. Next is The Secrets of the Immortal Nicholas Flamel series. Got it right. By Michael Scott. So the books in this series are The Alchemist, The Magician, The Sorceress, The Necromancer, The Death of Joan of Arc, The Warlock, Billy the Kid and the Vampires of Vegas, and The Enchantress. And I believe that this is like either a middle grade or YA series that just follows Nicholas Flamel, who, if you don't know, is alleged to be the founder of the Philosopher's Stone, which stops you from aging. Next is The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Again, there are so many in this series. There is a lot of really big series on this list, I apologize. The books in this series are The Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Lestat, The Queen of the Damned, The Tale of the Body Thief, Memnoch the Devil, The Vampire Armand, Merrick, Blood and Gold, Blackwood Farm, Blood Canticle, Prince Lestat and the Realms of Atlantis, and Blood Communion. This is the series that the Queen of the Damned, Interview with the Vampire, Queen of the Damned movies were based off of. Like, the first few books were what they were based off of. I have read Interview with the Vampire. It was actually one of the first horror vampire. I don't know if they're really classed as horror because they're just more like a vampire series, but they were one of the first. It was definitely the first vampire series that I started reading, and it kind of ruined all other vampire series because it kind of like cemented in my mind that vampires are meant to be like this and this only. So whenever I read another vampire series, it's always compared to that, unfortunately or fortunately. Like I said, I've only read the first in the series, so I've only read Interview with the Vampire, so we'll see how it goes reading through the rest of the series. Next is the Septimus Heap series by Angie Sage. The books in the series are Magic, The Dark Toad, Flight, Physic, Quest, Siren, Dark, Fire, and the Magical Papers. This is apparently a YA series who follows Septimus, who is the seventh son of a seventh son, so he is meant to have like extraordinary powers. I swear I can talk. Septimus, even like his name means seven. So yeah, he's apparently meant to have extraordinary powers, and I believe the book series just follows him navigating the world and like going through certain challenges. The synopsis didn't give much away. So next is by far the longest series in this list, and that is the Midkemia series by Raymond Feist. From what I can see, this is the recommended reading order, so if there is a different order out there, absolutely let me know. I'm always willing to hear different ways of reading things, or better ways of reading the order, but I think this is just the publication order. So they are the Rift War Saga, which is The Magician, Magician's Master, Silverthorn, A Darkness at Sethanon, Prince of Blood, The King's Buccaneer, and Midkemia, The Chronicles of Pug. Then there is Rift War, The World on the Other Side, which is The Daughter of the Empire, Servant of the Empire, and Mistress of the Empire. Then there is Order of the Serpent War Saga, which is Shadow of a Dark Queen, Rise of a Merchant Prince, Rage of a Demon King, and Shards of a Broken Crown. Then there's the Rift War Legacy, which is Krondor the Betrayal, Krondor the Assassins, Krondor Tear of the Gods, and Jimmy the Crawler. So I have actually read all of those books before, and that's where I got to before I got bored. Or at least I think that's where I got to before I got bored. But I'm going to try it again, and I'm going to do it in the same way that I plan to do the like Sanderson-a-thon, where I'm just going to read one book a month rather than trying to just like read as many as soon as possible, because when I read as many as soon as possible, I get uninterested, I get bored, I get over reading it. Then after that is Legends of the Rift War, which has Honored Enemy, Murder in Lamut, and Jimmy the Hand. Then there is Conclave of Shadows, which has Talon of the Silverhawk, King of Foxes, and Exile's Return. Then there's the Dark War Saga, which is Flight of the Nighthawk, Into a Dark Realm, and Wrath of a God. Then there's the Demon War Saga, or duo, it's only 2 books, and that is Rise of Dread Legion and At the Gates of Darkness. Then there's the Chaos War Saga, which is A Kingdom Besieged, A Crown Imperiled, and Magician's End. And second last is Firemane Saga, which is King of Ashes, Queen of Storms, and Master of Furies. And finally, there is the Dragon War Saga, which has a single book, and that is A Darkness Returns. So that is, from what I could see, the recommended reading order. It's like the publication order of the books, though. I don't know if the entire series follows Pug. I'm pretty sure Pug dies. So the series starts off following Pug the Magician. He's like one of the most powerful magicians in the world. He is the most powerful magician in the world, and he has to fight off an evil entity, and then we also follow, it kind of ends up being like a continuation over 100 years or a couple of 100 years of just like this world's history. So second last series, we're almost there. Second last series is the Memoirs of Lady Trent series by Marie Brennan. This is one that I've seen, again, a few YouTubers talk about, and it seems really interesting. It's got dragons, and I love dragons. So the books in the series are A Natural History of Dragons, The Tropic of Serpents, The Voyage of the Basilisk, In the Labyrinth of Drakes, Within the Sanctuary of Wings, and Turning Darkness into Light. This series is set in an alternate reality, an alternate version of our current world, and it follows Lady Trent, who is a naturalist and also has a keen interest in dragons, I believe. And yeah, like I said, dragons. I love dragons. Sign me up for a dragon book any day. If you have any series that I haven't mentioned, or any books that I haven't mentioned that are about dragons, let me know and I will read them, because dragons, love dragons. The last book in this series is the Songs of Chaos series by Michael R. Miller. The books in the series are Ascendant, Unbound, and Defiant. This is a YA series, again, about dragons. I believe a boy discovers a dragon that was a youngling that was meant to be a young dragon that was meant to be killed, because dragons do not tolerate, in this world, dragons don't tolerate weakness, and so they'll just kill off their young if they are deemed too weak. And so this is the story of this boy who is discovered this dragon and is trying to awaken its powers within it, and they both become powerful or something like that. I haven't read any of this series either, so I don't know exactly what it is about, but this is just based off of the synopsis that is available on Goodreads. So after all of that, and I apologize for how long this video is, because that is a lot, but there was 40 book series and there was 220 books, so that is a lot of books to get through. Those are the series that I'm currently either in the middle of reading or I am going to start reading. And like I said at the start, there will be series added to this list. I will probably end up just not finishing some of these series, because if I don't enjoy a book, and this is why the Iron Wing I think is the newest one, like the Fourth Wing series is not on this list. I just won't read it. I refuse to read any more of that series. That series is very problematic in my opinion, and I just didn't enjoy it. So if I get partway through a series and I find a book that I absolutely dislike, I just won't read it. Like I said, I won't be finishing all of them this year. There's no way I'll be finishing all of them this year, because there is like 180 or something unread books, 190 unread books in there, and I just don't have time to read that many books. I made it to 160 last year, so, and that was because I was reading a lot. Like, I was prioritizing reading over other things, so it also probably helped that I read manga. But anyway, so yeah, I won't be getting to all of those books this year. There's just no way. It's just not possible. Especially because I don't enjoy, or I can't handle audiobooks. Audiobooks make me cringe. So maybe if I could listen to the books, it would be different, but I think my limit's probably about 150 books at the most during a year. With all of that rambling and all of that being said, have you read any of these book series? Have I got any of them wrong? If you think that I have gotten the description of these series wrong, absolutely feel free to let me know. Do you have any book series that you think I would enjoy? Do you have any videos you would like to see me do? As always, I would love to know. If you like what I do here, please like and subscribe to my videos. It helps the channel out a lot. And I will see you all very soon. Bye.